He knows to stay humble. That's it, man.
Which one for the office? Sorry, in the middle.
With September 13th drawing closer, excitement for the blockbuster super middleweight showdown between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez continues to intensify. The buildup has quickly turned this into one of boxing's most closely followed training camps of the year. Crawford has reportedly cut himself off from media appearances, fan interactions, and even much of his inner circle so he can dedicate every ounce of attention to this challenge. His mission is straightforward, but incredibly difficult: take down the undisputed super middleweight king, Canelo Alvarez. It's the kind of fight that could ultimately define Crawford's legacy and push every aspect of his talent to the limit.
In the ring with Canelo Alvarez, Terence is not going to see anything that he hasn't seen before. No, he hasn't seen this beast on fight night, but he's seen versions of this beast for a very, very, very long time. People have said that he's a blown-up 147-pound fighter. If you remember, he said it was hard for him to make 147 when he fought Errol Spence Jr. I was like, yo, how is that possible? I didn't realize, like, he was really doing everything that's needed to gain the weight properly. Most fighters don't know how to gain weight and fit into a weight class properly. He's done that.
Crawford enters this matchup after competing at 154 pounds, now making the jump to the 168-pound division where Canelo has long established his dominance. Throughout his career, Crawford has built a reputation around versatility, slick movement, and sharp combinations that can break opponents down at any moment. But this situation is entirely different. He's stepping into a division ruled by a naturally bigger champion who has controlled the super middleweight landscape for years and remains the clear betting favorite heading into the bout.
Canelo is the last fighter in our generation that's a Hall of Famer, that got the biggest name in the sport. So, I chose to go up in weight and to actually try to conquer him from, all his achievements in the division. So why not? I just respect him as all. He's a great fighter. He's, a good boxer. He's a good counterpuncher. He's never, off balance. He got a good chin. He got good power. Got, good movement when he want to move. What is there to not say about him?
No, I got you. Now, with all of that, as you rattled off, we'll call it the scouting report, right? What will you have to do to be your best version in order to get this victory?
I think just be myself and just don't get careless in the ring and, stay sharp all 12 rounds if it goes 12 rounds. I think that's the only thing that, I need to do and make sure that in training that I sharpen up all my tools.
Even with the difficult circumstances surrounding the fight, Crawford has shown no hesitation about embracing the challenge. He appears fully committed to doing whatever is required to prepare at the highest level, even if it means completely removing distractions from his daily routine. His secluded training camp in Colorado Springs, where outside access has been heavily restricted, reflects just how seriously he's approaching this opportunity. Much of the discussion around the matchup centers on Crawford's preparation and physical transformation. Although he has successfully climbed weight divisions before, the move from 154 to 168 pounds represents a major leap, especially against a naturally larger fighter like Canelo. Crawford's team has emphasized that they are carefully avoiding the mistakes many fighters make when moving up too quickly without properly adjusting. Preserving his quickness, mobility, and smooth offensive rhythm remains a major priority throughout camp.
So here's a video that many people have sent me to determine in their mind that Terence Bud Crawford would lose to Canelo Alvarez, or is going to lose September 13th to Canelo Alvarez, as he is sparring here middleweight WBC world champion Carlos Adames, who is 24 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 18 wins by way of knockout. And people are saying that Carlos Adames, who's 5'11" with a 73-inch arm reach, is having his way with Terence Bud Crawford, and this is an indication that the 168-pound Canelo Alvarez, who's 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, is going to have the same type of success and knock Terence Crawford out. But what people are not paying attention to is Terence Crawford is standing right in front of Carlos Adames and taking the big punches from Carlos Adames as he's standing in the pocket and counterpunching him and taking his blows at a smaller weight class while competing at 147. Now he bulked up. What y'all think?
Still, the physical contrast between the two fighters is impossible to overlook. Canelo is perfectly suited for the super middleweight division, and his combination of strength, pressure, and punching power has overwhelmed numerous opponents. Crawford may possess one of the sharpest boxing minds in the sport, along with elite accuracy, but Canelo's ability to physically impose himself has been a key factor behind his success across multiple divisions. Crawford's likely path to success will depend on strategy and intelligence, using timing, movement, and ring awareness to stay ahead of the Mexican champion rather than trying to match raw strength.
We just got some footage. Terence Bud Crawford on his socials, on Instagram, that's where I got mine from. On Instagram, him throwing punches with the slip rope. I want you guys to tell me what you see. On top of that, I may get a copyright because I think he's playing some music, but I like the song so much. We'll just delete it later. Either way, after that, I show Canelo Alvarez on the slip rope when he was preparing for his last fight in Williams Guard.
Another major storyline surrounding this fight involves the conversation about Canelo's recent performances. Although he still holds every major title at super middleweight, some critics believe signs of decline may be starting to appear. His latest victory over William Skull sparked debate among fans and analysts, who questioned whether the champion is still operating at his absolute peak. Crawford, while openly respecting Canelo's accomplishments, has repeatedly stated that he expects the very best version of the champion on September 13th. In Crawford's view, this fight represents a defining moment for both men, and neither can afford anything less than their top performance.
And of course, look, you've accomplished everything. You're a first ballot Hall of Famer. You've been undisputed now in 2 weight classes. This will give you undisputed championship in the 3rd weight class. But not just that, you know you're fighting an all-time great, and you know that the credit's gonna go to you if you beat a guy like Canelo Alvarez at 168. Is that why you want it?
Well, when I beat him.
When you beat him?
Definitely. You know, the stakes is high. You know, it's high risk, high reward type of fight, and I'm looking forward to it.
When would you say, from memory, that you first thought this fight was a real possibility, that you started thinking about this fight actually happening?
Well, I started thinking about it, you know, a couple of years ago when they started talking about Spence fighting Canelo. Then just, you know, sizing him up, like, all right, how tall is he? You know, how long his arms and things like that, just sizing him up like that and going to his fights and things like that. And when he walk out the ring, I'm looking at him like, all that big, you know, so me talking with Turkey and Turkey not wanting to fight, and me like, yeah, this is the fight that I want, being that, you know, he's the last great fighter.
Former champion Andre Ward has also offered his analysis of the matchup. Known for his deep understanding of boxing strategy and style breakdowns, Ward noted that Crawford and Canelo actually share several similarities inside the ring. According to Ward, both fighters blend technical skill with knockout ability, making them dangerous in multiple ways. At the same time, he stressed that discipline will be critical. Neither man can afford careless mistakes, meaning they'll likely need to approach the contest as calculated boxer punchers rather than simply looking for power shots at every opportunity.
I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can.
Adding even more intrigue to the highly anticipated showdown, former light heavyweight champion Antonio Tarver has shared his prediction for the fight and believes Terence Crawford will emerge victorious. Although Tarver praised Canelo Alvarez as an elite fighter with proven experience at the highest level, he emphasized that this matchup represents the biggest challenge of Crawford's career due to the size difference and stylistic complications involved. Despite those obstacles, Tarver feels Crawford's ring IQ and ability to adapt under pressure could ultimately become the deciding factors. According to Tarver, Canelo may have difficulty dealing with Crawford's speed, movement, and unpredictable offense throughout the contest.
Bro, he's a real deep thinker. He processed fights like nobody else. and he's processed this Canelo fight. He's seen it. He went through it 2 or 3 times already. He knows how this ends. You can tell the way he shadow boxes. He visualizing Canelo being right there in front of him. You understand? Look at the movement. That's all you got to do. Look at the movement. And that's the type of master boxer that Canelo is going to be facing. And the only thing I say is Canelo hasn't faced an opponent like this in a long time. You know what I mean? I think Canelo's going to have to go back to the Caleb Plant fight and look that good, that active, that, you feel me, moving with that type of grace to beat Terence Crawford. Because weight ain't going to make the difference. It ain't going to be the weight. It's going to be the skill set.
Not everyone, however, is convinced Crawford can overcome the challenge ahead. Regis Prograis has warned people not to underestimate Canelo's physical strength, especially considering the significant jump in weight Crawford is attempting. Prograis pointed to Canelo's past victories over naturally bigger punchers such as Sergey Kovalev and Gennady Golovkin as proof of the champion's durability and experience. He believes the added weight could potentially impact Crawford's speed and explosiveness, advantages that have always played a major role in his success. In Prograis' opinion, facing a powerful and battle-tested fighter like Canelo may simply prove too much for Crawford to handle.
You know, I think that Crawford has the ability to outbox Canelo. You got to look at, and then Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small. You know, and he can look bigger Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference, Jamel looked like the bigger man. You know, his head, his neck, everything looked bigger. But when they got in the fight, you can tell. You can see who really was the bigger man. And I think that's the same thing. Crawford is putting on weight, but it's not weight. Like Canelo had the weight already. He doesn't have to put on muscle. He doesn't have to do that. He's already big like that. But I think that Crawford does have the style. He does have the style to beat him. If you look at the people that beat him or gave him troubles, Irislan, De Lara, Ostertrout, Floyd, and Bivol, you know, they gave him trouble and stuff like that. And Skull moved around a little bit too. So I think that Crawford has that, but I don't know how Crawford is gonna respond when he gets hit. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel was undisputed at 154, and Canelo hit him and shit. Jamel was like, hell no. Jamel took a knee, you know? So it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't, you know, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now, if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about this might be, I mean, people might kill me for it, but well, not really, but this might be the best Mexican fighter.
Boxing icon Roy Jones Jr. sees the fight differently and believes Crawford possesses several different routes to victory. Jones argues that Crawford's adaptability separates him from most fighters, giving him more tactical options throughout a fight. Unlike Canelo, who is often associated with a more straightforward pressure style, Crawford can make adjustments round by round depending on what the situation requires. Jones also believes Crawford's motivation and hunger could become major factors in the contest, although he admits Canelo remains dangerous enough to change the narrative completely if he executes the right strategy.
Fight that he can fight, on the correct fight that he can fight, he does have a chance, and I think he could be victorious. If he doesn't fight one way, he can only fight to win it. Terence Crawford has 6 ways he can win it.
Andy Ruiz has also offered his perspective on the upcoming clash, recognizing the unique obstacles facing both competitors. As someone who supports Canelo, Ruiz understands how much the size advantage could benefit the Mexican star. However, he also pointed out that southpaw fighters have caused Canelo difficulties before, making Crawford's style especially interesting. In this matchup, Ruiz stopped short of predicting a winner, but believes the fight has all the ingredients to become an unforgettable battle that could realistically swing in either direction.
All I know is that if you were in a Canelo Crawford card, that card would be a million times. It's still an amazing card, but you would have added a lot. Who wins, Canelo or Crawford?
I think it's gonna be a good fight, man. I'm going for Canelo, of course. You know, he's the Mexican warrior as well, but Crawford, man, you can't neglect him or you can't underestimate him as well. You know, he has a lot of skills, a lot of movement. He's a lefty as well. That's what Canelo has trouble with. I think it's gonna be an amazing fight, man. I just can't wait. And
Veteran trainer Abel Sanchez, famous for his long partnership with Gennady Golovkin, has approached the fight from a more skeptical angle. Sanchez believes Crawford's rapid physical jump over roughly 14 to 15 months could become a serious disadvantage at the elite level. In his view, Crawford may have benefited from taking additional time to fully grow into the higher division before challenging someone as naturally strong as Canelo. Sanchez's concern centers around the possibility that Crawford could sacrifice some of the speed and agility that made him so dominant in smaller weight classes, which could ultimately favor Canelo inside the ring.
To have a guy come up from 140 pounds in such a short period of time, I'm not saying he couldn't have done it. If he'd have taken 3 or 4 years like Canelo did and built up his, not only his strength, but his bulk in the correct way, he would have had a better chance. But to do it in these 14, 15 months that he's done it in.
As the Mega Clash approaches, everyone is giving his prediction on it. Abel Sanchez, a renowned boxing trainer, recently also gave his take on the Canelo versus Crawford matchup. He gave a bold verdict relating to this fight, and let's explore what he had to say. Sanchez's confident opinion has added fuel to the debate, making this already highly anticipated bout even more intriguing for boxing fans around the world.
The massive showdown continues to draw closer. Predictions from across the boxing world keep pouring in. Abel Sanchez recently added even more attention to the debate by delivering a strong opinion on the Canelo versus Crawford matchup. His comments have only increased, the anticipation surrounding an already massive event, giving fans even more to discuss ahead of fight night. The excitement continues to build as Terence Crawford prepares to face Canelo Alvarez in what promises to be a dramatic and explosive encounter. With so many important factors involved, Crawford's relentless determination, the challenge of moving up in weight, and Canelo's proven physical dominance, this fight has all the ingredients of a modern classic. Whether Crawford can accomplish what many consider impossible remains unanswered, but one thing is undeniable. September 13 is shaping up to be a memorable night for boxing fans everywhere.